What's up, everybody? This is Manny Fraser, and you are watching the Wealth Hustle Podcast. This podcast is about the wealth hustle that you're on right now because you started watching it. We're going to talk about all industries. We're going to talk about investing. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about everything. Make sure you sit down, stay tuned, grab your notebook, pen, and paper. Let's go for this episode. All right. Welcome to another episode of the Wealth Hustle Podcast. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Mr. Andre Gordon. Andre, tell us about yourself.
Man, where do I start? Start
in the beginning. Who's Andre?
So I like to call myself a serial entrepreneur. Some people know me more for my day trading. Some people know me for my auto brokerage business. Some know me for investing in real estate. Some know me for social media content. But I tell you, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Born and raised in Toronto to Jamaican parents. And I just take advantage of opportunity. I feel like sometimes, I get an idea and I'm like, okay, this sounds great, but is it the right time to act on it? So that's why I like to categorize myself and say I'm this or this. I'm just like, I'm a serial entrepreneur as a whole.
I like the serial entrepreneurs because that's kind of the game. It's never I'm in this and I'm only this. It's I'm jumping from ship to ship. Yeah. And it's like I go where the wave takes me.
Absolutely.
Like, where's the money? All right, we're there. I follow money. And it's a different way of life. So tell me about your journey through entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so I feel for me it started as a child. I remember being in elementary school, just selling candy to other kids, teachers finding out, getting in trouble for it. Middle school, I realized everybody wanted white headphones. That's when the Apple boom started to happen. So I started to sell iPhones, started selling iPods. And then through high school, it became shoes. And then even before that, actually, I think about it, I was like shoveling driveways, knocking on doors. I shovel your drive for $20, $10, whatever I can. And from there, it just started. It just kept going and going. I think watching my dad start his own restaurant in Toronto, I watched that route, and I was like, I kind of like that. He sets his own hours. He shows up. He's there to drop me to school, pick me up from school, attend basketball games. Meanwhile, my mom, I love her to death, of course, but she took the traditional path of working a 9 to 5 in a hole, having a career, and she wasn't there. You know what I mean? So don't get me wrong. She made her meals and all that stuff. I'm grateful. But I like the path of being able to dictate my own time and stuff. So it started very, very early on. And I'll be honest with you, when I look at my past life, 30 years old now, I've worked maybe 30, 35 jobs between the age of 18 to 23.
Jeez. And
no job will last more than 2 months. It didn't make sense, but it makes sense why now.
Yeah. It's not being satisfied with the mediocre.
Yes.
Because it's hard to be in a job that you know you're not supposed to be in.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in jobs before. I'm like, I cannot be here anymore.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's honestly, I feel like, especially in today's society, when you're on social media and you see that person that just made $25,000, whether it's real or not, you never know on social media these days, but they said they've done that just from their computer chair at home. Yeah. And it's like, how do you feel waking up in the morning and being like, okay, I gotta go sit in traffic. 401's a disaster, no matter what time of the day, right? So it's tough.
So how do you balance all these ventures that you're in?
If I'm being honest with you, I still struggle with it. I think the ideology behind balance, I personally feel like it doesn't exist, right? So I've always been learning from a very early age, there's this invisible scale of health, wealth, love, and happiness. Of the four, one's gonna be a higher priority than the other three, and one's gonna take a back seat. Now, I've just always prioritized myself and say, hey, no matter what, don't allow happiness to be the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's like, as I'm going through life, so for example, I went through a situation with my dad 2 years ago, and from there, health jumped to the top. But because health jumped to the top, wealth dropped to the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm still figuring it out, truthfully. I think I'll get to a point where it makes sense financially to get, not just an accountant for sure, but an assistant. Where it's like, okay, can you take care of stuff that I just don't want to do, like answer my DMs, emails, and things?
Yeah.
But as of right now, I'm still trying to figure it out, truthfully.
Yeah. I think the balancing part, I'm figuring out because I'm trying to balance everything, and I'm like, no, this makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you with that. It's figuring out that balance part. I think one thing I look at would be because I work with people that tell me, you need to have work-life balance. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because I'm like, if I either working or my life, but life and work, they're the same. They're very similar.
Yeah.
And if you do what you're passionate about, like what exactly is the balance you need?
Yeah.
Right. I can understand that being if you're working at GM and slaving away at like auto parts and it's like, the menial, not thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overtime. I really want to go fishing today. Right. But if you're doing something you're passionate about, it's like you're no longer thinking about the time you're spending doing it. So it's very interesting when someone talks about balance, because especially in the entrepreneurship game, balance doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
It's you get it where it comes and you go, and if that wave is big, you're going to go with that wave until it's gone.
Yep.
And then you go to the next one.
And you see it all the time. I think that's why a lot of entrepreneurs in today's society fail, because they have that instant gratification mindset, but they also want the grind, but don't want to put in the time. And it's like, no, Andre, it's Saturday. Like, I want to party. No, Andre, it's Sunday night. I have a birthday party. And it's like, what world did you think that being an entrepreneur meant you don't work 24/7? You always are working.
It's the social media. It's
social media, you're right.
Because people see that and they're like, like, what do you mean I have to work all the time? It's like, you traded one job for a next, but this job, you got to work like a job. If you were getting paid for every hour, what would that mean? It's like, how much do you want to get paid?
Yeah.
People don't think like that. It's like, I want to get paid for every hour that I'm alive. How does that work? It's like, if that was to divide, if you had a salary of $60K and you divide it by every hour of the week, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah. You'd be pretty upset what that number looks like.
You're so upset. You're like, I'm making nothing. I'm making less than minimum wage. So now balance is not one of the things that we want to talk about. But in terms of like your venture into real estate, how'd you get into it?
So it came truthfully just based off my environment. I was around a lot of people in the entrepreneurship space that I saw were diving into real estate. Some on the investor side, some on the realtor side, and some on mortgages. Shout out to my guy Shaq Hall. I'm always going to shout him out wherever I possibly can, because I remember in 2019 is when entrepreneurship finally took off for me.
Yep.
Where I've been trying it for so many years, could never crack enough where I can pay my bills and be good. So 2019 things took off for me. I started to do very well for myself, moved out my mom's house, got my own place, downtown Toronto, all that stuff. And Shaq looked at me and he said, hey, before you start spending money stupidly, real estate. And I was like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm 25 at the time. Like, I'm fine. I want to buy some shoes. I want to buy this. And I did it. Like, I splurged on a new car, bought the shoes, bought all these stuff. And then I sat there and I was like, this is how athletes go broke. I can see it, because you always want more. You always want more. So he was like, I have a great opportunity for us to get involved with this project. It's XYZ. I think if we come in together as a partnership, it'd be great. What the developers are promising for the investors, it looks really good. And I said, okay, I don't really know too much. I trust you. I'll take your word for it. Send me the information over. I'll look it over. It'll be good. Didn't look over anything, if I'm being honest with you. I was like, I have the capital. I trust this guy. He's like a brother to me. Yeah. So let's just give it a shot. And I dived in. I said, here's my side of it. And then from there, it felt like it became like a domino effect. Another opportunity rolled up for me in Barrie. Yeah. And the deposit structure during the pandemic just looked so amazing. I'm like, I think I could pay for that without having a business. Like, I could figure it out. And just started from there. And then another opportunity came up for me in Kitchener. And I was like, okay, I mean, I guess I could just keep buying black T-shirts and regular Levi jeans and I'll be good. Yeah. And it's crazy to this very day, I'm still the same way. Yeah. Right? No matter how much money I make, I'm still buying my black T-shirts from H&M, from Zara, black Levi jeans. Yep. I'm good. And I just kept rollerballing from there ultimately.
Wow. That is really good, because I think you touched on something there with the investing part, and Shaq touched on something. Shout out to Shaq, because he right there, he talked to you about something before you started spending money. And I think about this all the time. I'm 30. This will be out. I've just turned 39, and I wish someone stopped me when I was 19 and said, "Hey, you're making a lot of money right now. Yeah, going out partying, drinking, spending, just as it comes in, it's going right out." Yeah. And it's like, if someone just pause, how about you take, if you're living at home, you pay no rent, just take like half of that. Yeah. Put it into this account. Don't even think about it. Like, you're not even going to worry about half. And it's like, and I think about that, and I'm like, and this is why, hey, this podcast, this is why when I talk to people, I'm like, when I meet with guys, and I'm like, hey, take some of that money, invest it. Yeah. Like, I was like, I don't know what to invest in. Just take some money, put it into a bank account, savings account, just let it sit there. Even that's better than nothing. Yeah. So like definitely in terms of that, it's very smart.
No, you're absolutely right. Because I think like even too like growing up, I was around my grandma.
Yeah.
Okay, my grandma is somebody who's retired very early on via real estate. Now, of course, your environment, you become a product of it. So I'm watching like all my aunts and uncles and everyone maneuver, and I'm like, why is no one as free as grandma? Like she's like at home with her friends all day long, da da da. And eventually, as I got older, I'm like, okay, real estate. And when I started speaking to her about it, she said to me personally, she's like, there's investing, and then as the overhead, and there's an umbrella, and there's like real estate, there's like stocks and bonds, there's this and that. And she goes, when you get into real estate, there's so many different other avenues. And I'm like, I don't fully understand it yet. And she goes, well, take the simple approach. Go in pre-construction and treat it like a bank account. Put the money set aside, it'll pay you in the future. And I'm like, okay. So from since then, like to this very day, I've only dabbled in pre-construction because I still haven't taken the time to really understand the real estate game. But pre-construction just makes sense to me. It's like if I take that money and put it aside, I can't see it.
Yeah.
A payment's due every 60, 90 days. Okay, cool. That has to go there instead of me putting it towards something stupid.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to being billed, it's, okay, do I want to close? Do I want to sell an assignment?
Yeah.
And I've always took the assignment approach. I'm like, I don't want to close because I'm all over the place. I don't know if I want to be stuck in one spot right now.
Yeah.
So I looked at it that way and never looked back. Truthfully,
That
it's
is
amazing.
so smart. That's some wise. Shout out to your grandma. That's shout
out, grandma.
That is some wise words right there. So now, how'd you get into the car dealerships?
So my life always revolved around cars from very early on.
Yeah.
Right? Like I remember, I don't know if other kids did this, but like when I was a kid around my friends and family, and you're looking at the road and a car drive by, I'm like, that's my car.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my car. No, that's your car. That's my car.
Yeah.
And so I've always done that as a kid.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, one of my first very jobs was working at what's that car rental company called? Discount.
Okay.
So I started working there very early on. Actually, as I finished probation, I got promoted as an assistant manager, which eventually meant I was branch manager with not branch manager pay, which is unfortunate. All my staff quit because they're the ones that hired me. I wasn't even old enough to rent a vehicle, but I was their assistant manager.
Jeez.
So being there is when I first realized I'm good at sales. But I know it yet. I just like cars.
Yeah.
So I was there for about maybe 6 to 9 months. And then through there, GM was like, hey, we like you as a person. You're very personable. You always have a smile. You're always high energy. Come work with us. And I said, okay, sounds great. I'm working with a dealership. I went there 6 months. Then I left, went to a finance company to learn the back end side of things. It may sound better to be in the back end, wear suits, dress up, be nice. Yeah. I was there 6, 9 months area. And another opportunity, I was on Indeed while I'm working. I'm sure people do that to this day still. I found another opportunity for another finance company, but they wanted someone to help them with their marketing. Around this time, I'm now learning a little bit about social media. So I said, okay, cool. I had an Instagram page where there's a whole black and white theme. In each post, I had like one random thing that was in color. They reached out to me, hey, you want to help us out with our marketing, da-da-da. I go sit down with them. They have a leasing company, a finance company. They do boat rentals, whole 9 yards. Wow. And they were actually like 3 minutes away from where my mom lived. Well, my mom at the time. So I said, okay, cool. I'll take a look at it. I sat down with them. I fell in love. I was around, this is my first time actually being in an environment of wealth and actually like feeling like I belong, like I'm a part of it. I'm there. One of the guys first me straight up said to me, he's like, hey, I really love the fact that you get a haircut like almost every week. Like it's amazing. I wasn't doing it at the time. But the times I didn't have a haircut, I had a hat on. Right? Today I have a haircut. But I had a hat on. And he's like, I love that. But when he said that, that's what triggered, I'm getting a haircut every week. Because if that's what their people are looking at me as, let's do it. Long story short, I'm helping them with their marketing and stuff. They disregard the whole project. They're like, we need help selling our repossessed vehicles. I'm like, it can't be that hard. I'll just post some on Kijiji, Auto Trader, Facebook, Marketplace. Let's see how it goes. And I'm selling them. One here, one there, one here, one there. And they're like, you're actually really good at this. And I said, I think so. Like, I'm good at sales. I'm good at marketing. It just sounds like the perfect match. I love cars. And so I started doing it for another 3, 6, 12 months. And the guy looked at me, and I'm so grateful for them because they didn't hold me down and be like, we love you, what you're doing. Stay here. The guy said, I see you doing bigger things. He goes, we have a satellite location. I'm going to register it, get it all set up and such. You can operate out of there. When you operate, I'll teach you how to buy cars from the auction, take your profits, buy cars at the auction, and resell them back outside of the repossessed cars where there's more profit. I said, okay, cool. He connected me with the warranty people, got me in touch with a few different bank reps. And from there, it was like, okay, this sounds good. So I was doing that ultimately for about a year and a half. And it's crazy how life works. Check this out. I did it for a year and a half. I think it was about maybe like my second last month of doing that. Things start to really escalate for me. But at the same time, trading was taking off for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just so exhausted. I'm so burnt out. I got to pick a direction. And I picked the trading direction. Thank God my life changed making that choice. But so I left the car industry, went to that. But now dealing with some stuff the past couple of years, I'm like, you know what? I'm back in Toronto. I don't really want to talk to people, be around people. What can I get myself involved with that I actually enjoy doing? So I reached out to the guys that first told me the game way back. And they're like, yeah, love for you to come partner with us, but instead be like an auto broker. I said, what does that even mean? And in today's society, people don't want to go look at cars in person anymore.
Yeah.
They want to buy it online, this and that, but they don't know if they qualify for it or X, Y, Z. I said, I have the network. I know sales. I know marketing. I love cars. This might seem like my avenue. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And I went back to them, realized my license expired. So I had to go back to school for that. So I did that on the side. Nobody even knew about it. I got to school for it. Took the course, passed it, all that stuff. And then I got back into it as of like September last year.
Yeah.
And it just took off. Like all the things I wanted to implement, come back into it, I haven't got the chance to do it yet. Because now everyone's like, hey, I know you, I want a car. Hey, I know you, I want a car. I don't know you, but I like you, I want a car. And just been going since.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, because so okay, tell me more about the online sales approach to cars, because you're selling cars online.
Yeah.
And I've never seen that before. So tell me about that.
So my process is really simple. I tell everybody, I'm in the car industry. I'm basically what's like a mortgage broker and a real estate agent in one. So most people are used to going to a dealership. I like this car. Let's sit in it. For the case of test drive it. And then you sit down, they pull your credit and realize you don't even qualify for that car. And then they say, well, this is what you qualify for. Or the second worst scenario, you go to a dealership, let's say it's on brand, no disrespect, but let's say it's on brand like a Honda or a Toyota or a Mercedes or BMW, and they can only sell you that specific brand. So I looked at it and I said, okay, I'm going to take the approach backwards. I'm going to take the real estate approach. Let me get you a pre-approval first so you know what you qualify for, and then let's go look at some vehicles that match within it. So the first thing I do for everybody is say, hey, let's get you pre-approved. If you have good credit, all I need is your driver's license, employment information, but they don't verify anything. Right? Some people will give me real information, some people won't give me real information. That's up to them. Right? I submit it, get the approval. The bank says this person qualifies for X amount rate. Now, based off of my experience in sales and marketing online, I've been able to meet a lot of people that are like bank managers at CIBC and TD and Scotiabank and smaller ones and stuff. So now when it comes to, I need a favor for this person, they're a great friend of mine, this, they're willing to help me out, giving me an interest rate lower than what the comparison may be given to that person. So that friend says, hey, you know what? I went to Honda and they're going to get me at 10%. I call my guy and I can do the 8.5, 8.9. So now they come to me and I say, okay, well, heads up. Honda was just going to sell you a Honda product, but what do you actually want? Andre, you know what? I'm not too sure exactly. Okay, cool. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go on Auto Trader or Car Gurus, whichever you want to use. Go look at what's out there. Tell me what you like, and I'll get it for you. Make, model, year, trim, features, color. You tell me specific what you want. As long as it exists, I'll get it. And for my connections are from Vancouver on the west, 'cause I lived out there. So as far as east of Halifax, where I spent about 10 to 14 days at one point. So as long as the car exists in Canada, I can get it happen. So now they're like, okay, I got approved. Tell them what car they want. I literally get the vehicle from them. I can't spill my beans on how I get that stuff. But I have an inside where I can get cars cheaper than anywhere else, truthfully. Once I get the car, I have drivers that will deliver it to the person's house. Sometimes if they're nice enough, I'll put a big red bow on it too for them. And that's it.
That is absolutely sick. So, okay, we talked about real estate. We talked about trading. We haven't talked about trading yet. We're going to get into that. And we talked about cars. How do you identify opportunities? Because it seems like you're really good at finding and spotting opportunities and getting into them.
I think I kind of just like watch market trends a bit. I'm like one of those individuals where I'm at home. First and foremost, I'm introverted. Sounds weird. You're like, no, you're extroverted. You're social.
I am the same way as you.
I'm like, no, I don't go to parties, don't go to clubs. I'd rather be home.
Yeah.
Like, that's me. Friday night, I'm home with a glass of wine, and I'm on Bloomberg. I'm on things that can really spark my mind. Entrepreneur.com, Forbes.com. And I'm watching what's happening in the market, what's happening with trends. But I'm also not afraid to pay for mentorship. So one thing I do is heavily, I pay for different mentorship in different industries and see, okay, what's happening? What's what's the world changing like, what innovation is needed, XYZ. And I just watch the trend and say, okay, cool. Like right now, we're going in the AI space. Mm-hmm. Now, some people think AI just came, but it's like AI's been around for a long time, right? Think of I don't want to mention her name, iPhone. Yeah, but that's technically AI. Yep. Right. So I just identify things based off of my own research, based off mentorship, and then I think the next secret to it is just the right environment and communities, right? Yeah. Like Facebook groups, Discord groups. There was that one that was really big, and you guys had the club, crypto club. What was it called again?
Oh,
man, what was that one called?
Yeah, it was a hot minute.
I don't know if it's still around, but
it is still around. Well, I don't know if it's still around. It's on my phone. Clubhouse.
Yes. Yeah, just join different clubs and let people speak. And I'm like, okay, I'm making breakfast. I got to be in the kitchen anyways. Instead of listening to music, I'm listening to what they're talking about in this clubhouse. Yeah. Right. I listen to podcasts like crazy. Alex Hormozy, yourself. Rich and Rashad and Bilal, right? Like I'm Grant Cardone. I'm listening to all different ones. I'm like, okay, taking all this information, where is there money to be made for me in this space, right? And I think that's how my mind always works. It's okay. This sounds great. That sounds cool. That sounds great. Where is there a way for me to dive in and make money? Now, one thing I had to learn, which I'm grateful the last 3 years taught me, not every dollar is a dollar you want to make. Yeah, like not every dollar is a good dollar. So there's certain industries I just personally won't get involved with. Right. One being, no disrespect, I personally can't see myself selling life insurance. Yeah. I know the value behind it. Everyone should have it. But I don't feel comfortable sitting down with somebody and saying, you're going to die one day, so let me make a sale out of you. Yeah. I just don't feel right doing that. Yeah. Truthfully, like, no respect is one of those. Let's say we're talking about like marijuana or cannabis. Maybe getting involved with a dispensary sounds cool and all, but I'm not pro drugs. Yeah. Right. Maybe if there's like a CBD oil cream that made it a little different, I might look into it. Yeah. But there's certain things I just don't want to get myself involved with. But I may know there's a way for me to get involved without physically being involved with it. So, for example, let's say insurance, for example. I know the power behind having life insurance. Maybe I might be the person that you come to as your consultant for your business. I'll teach you how to scale it. That would be my way to get involved with your business, but I just won't go hand in hand. So I go about it that way.
It's like understanding that if you just said it, not every dollar is the right place. Putting it in the right places, aligning it with your own core values, beliefs. Mm-hmm. That's very powerful. I think a lot of people, you can learn negatively, which is like not good. Then there's the, you know what, I had these, this is my line, I'm not willing to try go past it. That's a very big thing. So like, okay, you identify opportunities, you've had opportunity to lead teams. What is, I guess, in terms of leadership, how have you grown? What do you do?
The biggest thing for me in leadership is just studying other great leaders. I think every great leader was once a great follower, but it takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of you have to drop your pride and drop your ego to become a great leader, right? Like understanding, okay, yes, you might be fantastic at, let's say, social media, but there's someone that's better than you, right? So there's a chance for you to take opportunity to learn from them, implement whatever you can, and go in that way. So I've always taken the approach when it comes to leadership, just by first being a great follower, and then second step is leading myself, right? So even like right now, like I just partnered with a new platform when it comes to the trading space, and I said I can't lead others until I can lead myself. So let's go first. Let's go ahead, leverage the platform, be a product of the product, and then move forward. So it's a lot of just that. To me, I think a lot of people, when they look at the word leadership, they run from responsibility, but like leadership is one of the highest paid professions to be in. Yep. Right, so like you for sure want to be a leader. So I kind of run for the opportunity. I love being in the leadership roles, and then also just studying. Like I probably know every single one of John C. Maxwell's books. Yeah, I just study nonstop, and then just taking on the challenge, learning from it, saying, okay, cool. You know what? I might lead somebody the wrong way. How can I grow and learn from that? Funny enough, actually, I had someone say to me, she was a mentor of mine when I was 21 or 22. And she's like, Andre, 99% of the books out there are fluff. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And she goes, if you learn leadership, communication, and sales psychology, you'll thrive in any business. And I was like, okay. And I now, following that, understand it. Sales psychology, I think it's very self-explanatory. Yeah. But communicating with other individuals, like I've gotten my very first job was at Bank of Montreal, downtown Toronto, fraud department, $31 or $32 an hour. I was still in high school. Yeah.
Wow.
Everyone around me had degrees and stuff. And they're like, how'd you get this? I knew the right person. I was able to communicate and negotiate with them. Right? I think there's that saying that's like, what does it go? Good things come to those who wait.
Yeah.
And I've also learned it's good thing come to those who negotiate.
Yeah.
So in any situation I'm in, it's let me negotiate. Worst case, you say no problem. And leadership is a big part of that. Understand, people are going to say no for you leading them.
Yeah.
And that's okay because once again, permissional leadership is only the second level of leadership. Ultimately, you get to a certain point where you're producing so much for yourself, you now are known as somebody who just produces results, and people just ultimately gravitate towards you. So I think my approach is just learning, studying different environments, different leaders, and just going from there, truthfully.
Yeah, I hear you. That's definitely because with everything you're doing right now, there's that leadership component where you said that you have people delivering.
Yeah.
You're going in, looking at real estate marketing, consulting. People, when you consult, that's leadership because now people are saying, hey, tell me how to, here's the mess. What do I do next? And that's like when you're in that mindset, it takes a special mind to look at things and be like, correction. All right. I mean, you see this correctly. Okay. There's this, it's a puzzle.
Yeah.
And there's like puzzle pieces and putting it all together. So like let's go backwards in time. And now 20-something-year-old entrepreneur getting started in the game right now, what's your advice to them?
Don't be afraid to fail and don't care what anyone says about you. I think that's the two most important things. Like, you need to fail in order to grow.
Yeah.
People look at failure as the opposite of success, but no, it's part of the process. Like, you have to fail. You have to lose some money. You're going to have to lose some friends. You're going to have to make mistakes. Like, it's part of the process. So don't be afraid to fail. And then ultimately as well, too, like, you just got to put yourself out there and not care what anyone says. Like, I know myself, I'm not the most traditional business owner. People will speak to me in an email and they're like, this guy is so professional. He's this, he's that. And then we meet up in person. They're like, black t-shirt, jeans, baseball cap. I was not expecting that. And I'm just like, what were you expecting? Suit and tie? My professionalism is not an attire.
Yeah.
It's the way you carry yourself and the way you approach it, everything. So I'm not afraid of that. But at the same time, I know I'm going to lose some people that don't want to do business with me because I don't want to put the suit on. And I'm okay with that. But I think some people got to be understandable of knowing that in this world, not everyone's for you and you're not supposed to be for everyone. So that person that's brand new to entrepreneurship, they got to understand that you need to fail. Like, go through the process, fail as much as you possibly can. Now, don't get me wrong, learn from other people's mistakes when possible, right? But don't be afraid to fail. And then second, like, you got to put yourself out there. I think with social media today, everyone on their business should be on social media.
Yeah.
I talk to businesses and they're like, oh yeah, we're doing this. And I said, okay, cool. What's your social media strategy? Oh, we don't have an Instagram page yet. What about YouTube? We don't have a YouTube yet. TikTok? No, it's for kids. Facebook? Yeah, we have Facebook, but it's a personal page. I'm like, you're not a real business. Like, you're not a business thriving in today's society. You're basically going to be Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be Netflix, not Blockbuster. So I think a lot of them comes back to their mindset of, I don't want to fail, or I don't want to put myself out there because I might get comments that are negative. I might someone that's going to say, oh, you're not doing it the right way. Oh, why would you post that? Why is your caption like that? Why is your foot like that? Your makeup's not done. You just can't care.
Yeah. It's that, like, approach of, like, just throw it on the wall, see what happens.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that was good. I look at entrepreneurship and I look at, like, you have to have that mindset of, like, I'm just going to go and then I'm going to get everything ready and then finally be set up.
Yeah. Literally.
But it's like, I got to go first. I got to take that first step. So, like, how do you go about financial planning with everything that you have going on? How do you now maneuver around? Because we talked about, like, having things closed at certain times and understanding you have certain monies coming in here, and here. How do you now plan all that?
So, two things. Or not really two things, but I've learned you can't cheap out on a good lawyer, and you should never cheap out on a good accountant. I was before trying to find the cheapest way to save money in taxes and stuff, and I realized the good accountants are telling you what you should be doing. No, have a holding account for this, hold a company for this, have this as a LLC in the U.S., or have this in Delaware, whatever the case is, have sole proprietor in this one, corporation. And I think just understanding my strengths are sales, marketing. My weaknesses are things like organizing, planning, like I hate it. Seriously, like I said I hate it. I just haven't grown to love it yet. I don't think I want to grow to love it. So in the meantime, let someone else deal with it. Let's delegate, right? If I could pay someone to do something for me that's going to help me out in the long run, let's go ahead and do that. So I think when it comes to things like that, it's leveraging my account as much as I possibly can, but then also understanding at least the basics of what's being done. That's what you hear the stories of. This person made $100 million, but their accountant was stealing from them in the back end, or the manager was this and that. So at least learn the basics of what's taking place. So when it comes to like my financial statements and things like that, I'm always assessing the risk as well too.
Yeah.
I think COVID kind of helped me a lot to realize, okay, you know what? Businesses need to be taken online. If not, I run the risk of not having a spot where I can do this or do that or do this or do that. So I learned, okay, online is something I got to pay attention to. Inflation has showed me certain things cost more now. So maybe instead of waiting for me to become low in stock of something, how can I find ways to find a cheaper alternative in the background, or maybe an alternative company to leverage? Worst case scenario, that one goes out of business, right? Just personally, just a while ago, I picked up a vehicle from Honda. I'll mention the city, from Honda, and I was talking to the person there. I said, okay, cool, like, you know, I signed the paperwork, here's the check, let's go, da-da-da. And she's like, thank you so much, this is this. And she's like, do you own your company? Or like, what is it you do for cars? Like, how are you getting cars? I broke down my model to her, and she goes, oh, like, are you guys hiring anybody? Because I'm scared. I said, what are you scared? She's like, we just had a massive cut. They just laid off or got rid of 120 people. I said, huh? But, so with thinking of things like that, like, let's say I'm the mechanic that deals with that dealership. My business is now affected.
Yep.
If I'm a detailing shop dealing with that dealership, my business is now affected, and I'm going to be getting less business. So they have to think in the future, how do I assess my financial risk of, okay, cool, if worst case scenario I lose a dealership, what's my backup? Do I have marketing in place to attract a walk-in person? Do I have relationships in place where I can make a phone call and say, hey, get me in the line, or get me in a room with all the dealerships in that area? Like, I think we just got to assess the risk when it comes to it as well too. So there's that. One of my biggest tips for me, truthfully, I think anyone should also do, is have multiple different bank accounts. I've learned, unfortunately, living in Montreal, there's a lot of fraud and scam that happens. I literally had 4 cards compromised all in the same week of moving there. Thank God I had 1 card left at home. But if I had everything with one bank, I would have been doomed. I just moved there, no furniture yet, nothing. I would have been destroyed if I didn't have a separate bank account. Right. Wow. So I think just having different bank accounts, don't have all your money in one account. I actually learned that from Giannis Antetokounmpo, NBA champion. Yeah. He said multiple different accounts. I'd rather have 120 million split 10 million in each account than have 120 in one. And I was like, what does that even mean? I researched it up, and I was like, okay, understandable. That makes sense. Assessing the risk. Yeah. So I think small things like that, but number one I would say, truthfully, is don't cheap out on a good accountant.
Yeah. So in terms of risk management, how do you go about, like, what are some other tips in terms of risk management that you apply in your own life?
What else am I doing? Speaking to my accountant heavily, going over my numbers, I think is really helpful. Like I've always learned, if you don't know your numbers, you can't grow your numbers. So I'm always looking at my numbers, identifying what revenue is coming from, what regions are coming from, what demographic is it coming from, and then I figured out a way, how do I continue to triple down on that? Sometimes we look at our weaknesses and say, okay, how do I get better? But it's like, well, what are your strengths? Let's triple down on that. So I look at things like that and try to find ways to create more revenue coming from those streams. Diversifying, my biggest thing as well too. Like I'll be honest with you, I think about it, like I've dived more in stocks the last like 12 to 18 months. Whereas during the pandemic, I was all currency and crypto. Yep. You know what I mean? And now people are like, wait, you don't do crypto no more? I'm like, I do. I'm just diversifying a little bit more based off of what I'm seeing in the market. Yep. Right.
Same way.
And a lot of it, also, I think a lot of it too comes down to, I was learning from you on a weekly basis for crypto. I don't have access to that as much as I do anymore. Yeah. So I think that kind of shifted me a bit into stocks too, but just diversifying, know when to take risk, know when not to take a risk. Yeah. When it comes to certain investments. So for example, like, let's say, I'll use real estate for example. Yeah. There's different regions that are exploding right now. People are talking about like the Hamilton region. People are speaking about Niagara. They're speaking about like Kitchener-Waterloo. And for me, it's looking at and say, okay, what is everyone talking about? If everyone's talking about the same regions, I want to move on to the next. If no one's talking about it yet, I want that. Right? So as for me, like right now, like I'm hearing so much about Niagara. I'm like, perfect. I'm glad I'm hearing about it now because I've been in that from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. I think they said the government just gave Hamilton like a $1 billion or $10 billion fund to build the city. It's like, damn. People are like, yes, let's go. It's like, no, you should have been in that already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's too late.
Yeah.
So just listen to other people. I think it goes back to just being different communities, different environments, and saying, okay, like, what are you guys doing with your money? Where are you spending your time? What are you learning? And see how can I assess it myself? Say, okay, you know what? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a variety of things.
Durham.
I've actually been hearing. Everyone's been telling me they're like, I don't fully understand Durham as really. They're like, they're like, there's a difference between north of the 401 and south of the 401, and I was like, okay, don't know. And they're like, you'll go out there and you'll see the difference, but look at where everyone is not. That's where you want to invest. Yeah. And I was like, okay, don't really understand it, but okay.
So I can tell you, north of the 401 on Durham, especially like if you go into like a Pickering, that's where all the houses are. Now, if you go further north, at some point there was no houses. They just realistically developed all their houses into Taunton. Taunton is like not as far north, but the 407 would be as far north. They're developing houses from the 401 to the 407. Oh. And then go right across Durham, and they're doing the exact same thing. Like into like. So Whitby. All that's farmland. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And
so you're talking even like when the 407 goes and it turns, I think like 412 or something like that?
Yeah, so the 412, the 418, and all the way to the 115, all that's farmland. Right now they're developing. So there's a 412, 418. So those are two highways that go up. One's in Whitby, one's in Clarington. If you look on both sides of those highways, it's all farm.
No, they're becoming housing.
They have to. You just have to look at the prototypes of other places that are in the GTA. So like the 410 for Brampton, or utilizing the 403 going down to Mississauga and Oakville. You can look at those and see what happens. Yeah. So even like the Red River path in Hamilton, right? I was in Hamilton back in 2004 when that wasn't a way down the mountain. Before it was a highway. They started it when I left in 2006. I drive past it to go to Niagara now, and I see it. I'm like, cool. Wow. But before, the way to get up and down the mountain, like on that side, was horrible. That highway going straight, cutting through the city, probably saved people 30 minutes of travel. So highways come first because it's always like ways around. So like I look at that, and like there's a couple things I look at in Durham that should be coming. Because I'm always like futuristic, like, hey, what's happening next? Yeah. We're like, oh, farmers. Farmers is like, yeah, farmers. Farmers. Like, I understand you get food from them, but realistically, if you're near a metropolis, everything gets torn down. Everything. You can look at LA, you can look at New York, you can look at all the big cities. And Toronto is, I think, one of the top 10 largest cities in North America. So that means everything outside of Toronto is going to end up getting affected. So looking at Durham, I look at two things. One is an outlet mall. And the reason I say outlet mall is because you have the one at Vaughan Mills. You have one in Milton. Yeah, the nothing east. Premium outlet one. Yeah. Yes, you're right. So nothing east. The furthest east is either you're driving down to Syracuse or you're going to Ottawa. Wow. Yeah. So you look at that and you're like, oh, okay, that means there's clearly a market because there's people living here. The one issue with Durham right now is not over 1 million people. It's like 750,000. So the people are here. But since living here, what I've seen is the population boom, especially like working where I work and seeing the people I see. There has been a significant increase in people. And the people that are moving, they're like, oh, I moved from Brampton. I moved from this place. I moved from that place. Houses are cheaper. So they're taking their money, and it might be $1 million for a house in Brampton, but it's 700 still, 800,000 for in Durham. And same size house.
Couldn't even think about that, even to say that. It's crazy.
Well, that's the thing. So people are taking their money and selling their houses. They're picking their houses and moving here. So that's the housing market. Then there's the condo market, which if you start looking, and this is where the north versus south, drive east towards Pickering, you're going to see condo developments all over the place. Off the highway. And so that's another thing where you start looking, you're like, huh. So the next thing is like, so the Pickering Town Center got approved for, I think, either 12 or 14 condos to get developed.
Yep, I actually seen that.
So we are like, This is still I personally think it's still early because the last thing that is supposed to be developed was the airport. And they've been talking about that for years. That thing getting developed, so like once that gets developed and the news breaks about that, that's too late.
Yeah.
Too late. You missed the boat. Like you should have already been in. So that's where I see in terms of early, I would see the early trend being Durham because you can't move west.
Yeah, no.
And it's already too populated.
Too late, yeah.
You don't want to move north because you only go so far north.
It's too cold.
It gets colder.
Yeah.
And so all you have is east. And you look and you're like, oh, there's still land. Like Pickering, Ajax is way too packed. Ajax is that, like, if you've ever been in Ajax is, every spot of Ajax is already developed. Wow. Like, even when you think, like, there's a spot that may be developed, they, like, break down something and, like, put a condo there. Whitby, North Whitby, from between Taunton and Brooklyn, needs to be developed. The next thing, Oshawa, North Oshawa, they're developing North Oshawa. They just put a Costco north of Oshawa. There'll be other things that they're going to build.
That's where the college is?
The colleges, yep. And then Clarington, where I live, that is the last place that has to be developed. But that will be developed. That will be something like a Milton. Yeah. So, like, and you can understand that you can see the equivalences and you can see what happens on the other side. And you're okay, at some point, I would say within the next 10 to 20 years, you're going to see that development all this way.
How east does the GO train go right now?
So, that's the next thing. The GO train, it stops in Oshawa. Guess where it's going next?
Yeah, that's for sure, going more east. That's a month.
Going right to Bowmanville.
Wow.
And I'm just like, all right. Come on.
Bring on the money.
Because as soon as that comes there, once again, it's also too late because it will increase the amount of population of people that live in Clarington who work downtown. Right now they're doing hybrid, but most of the professionals I talk to, they're telling me they want the hybrid and they want to go back to people going back to work.
Yes.
Companies want that. And it makes sense. I'm a company. I want efficiency.
I want to see my staff in here. Not scrolling, yep.
Yep, because no matter what, like you're gonna lack efficiency. I had one lady tell me, she's like, I spent all day cooking yesterday. It's like, pardon me? She works for one of the big banks. Yeah. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you work from home all the time. It's like, I was cooking all day.
You know how upset I would be to like you used to be one of my top performers. Yeah. And I go on TikTok and you're on TikTok live talking about your cooking recipe.
Yep. So and that's where I think the hybrid will turn back into the go back to work. And at that point, these types of things, these infrastructures need to be in place. So if I was looking at opportunity, the next opportunity within the GTA, I would say would be Durham. It's the last frontier that hasn't been developed. Like it's absolutely trash. And anyone that lives in Durham knows that. Yeah. Like that's what I'd say.
Telling our secrets.
Yeah, well that's why someone can say north of the highway, north of the highway, south of the highway. Because south of the highway, it's all industrial. Wow. Every bit of it. Every bit. From all the way from Pickering all the way to Clarington. And then they have 2 OPG plants, so 2 nuclear power plants in Pickering and in Clarington.
What's the next big city outside of going more east from Bowmanville?
Bowmanville. So the next biggest city would be Kingston.
Kingston.
Yeah.
Is that before or after Belleville?
After Belleville.
After Belleville.
Yeah, Belleville. I guess they count Belleville as a city. Shout out to Belleville.
Like, what about us?
Yeah, but there's Belleville, Kingston, and then you're not hitting nothing until Montreal.
So as of right now, if you're going from Toronto to go to Kingston, you gotta take Via Route. You can't do GO train.
Can't do GO train. That's the next thing. So if you're looking at another thing in terms of like thinking about developing, right? Just going back into my story of Hamilton. When I was in Hamilton, you could take a GO train to Hamilton. You could go bus. Now there's a train. So if you're a GO train, how do you want to go? Yeah. You want to go and so I'll take another city, London, England. Amazing infrastructure in terms of travel. Yeah. You can be anywhere in that place and get into the city. And so Kingston is 2 hours away from the city. Right now it's Via. How far does GO want to go? Yeah. As far as they want to go, that's as far as your infrastructure will go. And that's like, in terms of it, between if that's as far as Kingston's far, Belleville would be a I'd say your easternest point, Kingston is a different city. Kingston will be difficult because of the penitentiaries that they build on the water. Because you're like the worst thing ever is you're on the go and you're like, oh, nice inmates.
Yes, you're right. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, so because the penitentiaries are on the water, I don't think they'll go up to Kingston. But I think Belleville could end up happening. And then also the other issue with going past Belleville would be the islands. Not the Thousand Islands on the other side, which is the Picton. Picton. Yeah.
Okay.
So Trenton.
But they don't have like a big prison in Milton?
They have a Supermax. It is... Can't remember what they call it, but yeah, it's a Supermax. It's normally it's the feeder prison, but it's a feeder jail, so it's still a provincial jail. Oh, okay. So all it is where people from little small towns all over Ontario would end up going there or Lindsay, and then they would go from there. If you're ever there, it's 2 years less a day. You're there 2 years max a day. You're in the federal. If you are there, you're getting on your way to go to a federal penitentiary. Yeah, but that's they have that. They built that, but you can see that off the highway. But you drive so fast on the highway you don't even realize it. But definitely, I think if you're looking at GTA, there was another place in real estate that I was looking at. 6 hours north. I can't remember. I don't know if you saw this ad. They were giving land away for $1.
6 hours north.
6 hours north. I actually looked at it. I'm like, how far is this? I'm like, ooh, 6 hours north.
For $1 though?
Yeah. For $1. But you have to build on it. You cannot just pay it and just do anything with it. You have to, because it's a very small town. And to attract people to live out there, the issue is that if you need a job, there's really no places. And then if you're so far away, removed from everything, that if you're trying to work within the GTA, that's not it. 6 hours is... That's the equivalent of going down to New York.
Yeah.
Right?
6 hours, yeah.
Like, right. I might as well go to New York City. Like, what are we doing here? So 6 hours north was they put advertisements in the paper, everything. So I don't know how they did. And I didn't check what happened next, but the date was like sometime in May that you had to put your down payment in and everything. It was $1. So I guarantee they have people. One of the biggest things that actually you should be looking into is international students. Internationals, period.
Yeah.
So because of the fact that we're offering, so Canada as a whole is bringing in 500,000 people every year. The GTA consists of roughly about 14 million people across and we'll utilize GTA Golden Horseshoe, like across Lake Ontario. So from as low as Niagara all the way to GTA Toronto. And then if you go out to like just Southern Ontario and utilize all of Southern Ontario to Ottawa, we're probably sitting at closer to 16 million people. Now, that many million people living in there, we're bringing in 500,000 people in per year. Where do you think they're going? Half of them? At least half of them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And then if half of them are coming down into Southern Ontario, where do you think that half of the half is going? Right? So thinking about that, that's just what Canada's accepting as people coming in and saying, okay, we're bringing these people in always, every year until 2030. I think it's 2030 or 2035.
That's where the tax dollar's going.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And that's not including the international students. That's just internationals coming in. So, like, these internationals are coming in. I'm talking to people right now. Oh, I just moved from Egypt. Oh, cool. I have a house.
Huh?
Huh? I just moved from Dubai. Yeah, I just bought a house. I just moved from Turkey. Yeah, me and my wife just got a house. How old are you? 25.
Wow.
What's going on here? Because to leave their country and come here, you need to have a certain amount of money to show that you're not going to be broke. So they see that, and automatically that same amount of money they have is able to buy a house. So it might be like they have $75,000 in their bank account. That's enough for them to put a down payment on something. And that's what's happening. So a lot of foreign money is coming in here differently. It's coming in through work permits and visas. And, I'm going to make Canada my home, and they'll buy the first house they see. And this is now for Canadians, people that live here, who are born here, who are a little bit late in everything. You're not getting anything because they're getting in and moving. Now, what will change is when after 2027. So this is something I learned. After 2027, they have to redo the bill they have on foreign investors.
Okay.
So whether they're going to decide whether they're going to bring it back or like continue it or dispose of it.
What do you think they're gonna do?
I think that Pierre Poilievre will probably end up winning the next election, which means that he'll probably be the federal prime minister at the time.
That's a conservative guy?
That's a conservative guy, which means that they will dispose of it. Because as a conservative, you just want to figure out ways to bring more money into here. So I think that we'll dispose of it. And when they dispose of it, all hell broke loose.
That's going to be interesting to see.
That will be interesting because that go back to those condos, go back to all those things, all those new builds. Like I said, if you're looking at the same markets, you're going to see those same markets and be like, oh, like we're talking about chess. Let's go back to that Durham play.
Yeah.
Boom. You're already there when it's like, oh, why is it taking a bit longer than normal to close on these things? Like they're still doing builds and they're taking a bit longer, and it's because of the foreign investors. So instead of a day closing out, it's taking a couple more days to finish off to collect all their money. So when those foreign investors comes, it's a wrap. But yeah, that's my thought process in terms of what I look at when I see East.
Yeah.
West, I just see West and I'm like, it's overpopulated. Mm-hmm. I drove from Burlington 2 days ago, and it took me 3 hours between Burlington and Bowmanville.
Yeah. That highway, man. It's crazy to think about it because like when you look at all the highways in North America, like the 401 is one of the biggest.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, the express and the collectors, but it's just so many people.
Yeah. It's so many people, and we're not bringing people off of the 401 and taking them onto the 407, which is a whole government of Ontario thing. Okay, so let's get into trading. How did you find your way into trading?
I found my way into trading. That same company that I was working with doing the marketing for their light financing, leasing vehicles, and then started selling repossess.
Yeah.
Very close-knit. There was like 13 of us. At the table, everyone was talking about Canada legalizing marijuana. I don't smoke weed, but I'm the Jamaican in the office. So, of course, everyone's looking at me like, you must be happy. Like, and I'm just like, no, I don't smoke. And they're like, are you just going to get invested in it? And I'm like, I don't really fully understand it. And I'm so grateful. I can't remember her name, but there's one lady that was working there. She was the accountants. And she's like, I'm going to teach you. She's like, my husband's teaching me. So whatever he's teaching me, I'm going to tell you. I said, okay, cool. And she was just like, this. And I'm like, okay, cool. And before I know it, I'm invested in Aurora, Freya,
Canopy,
yep. Tilray. And then actually I think it was the vice president or president of Alethea actually came by the office. And he's like, invest with us. I'm like, I don't really know what you guys do, but okay, sure, no problem. He's like, yeah cannabis, this. Right now we're at, I think it's like 3 or 4 cents per share. I'm just learning what that even really means. I said, okay, cool. And I remember I put some money into it, and she ran down to my office, and she's like, go look at Alethea right now. Alethea Health Inc. or something. I'm like, okay, type it in Leaf stock price. It was like 36 cents. I'm like, nice, we're up 30 cents. She's like, when did you buy in? I'm like, 3 or 4 cents. And she's like, no, you 10 times your money.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Open the TD app and looking, I was like, what? So now my thought process went, if I was able to do that without understanding the markets, what's going to happen once I do learn this?
Yeah.
And from there, I started going on social media, watching people post charts and this and that. And then from there, I saw guys posting about trading Forex pairs.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, foreign exchange, what is this? This looks very weird, different. And one guy explained to me, he's like, it's the U.S. to Canadian. I'm like, okay. He's like, Great British Pound to the U.S. I'm like, no idea. And he's like, when you go down to the U.S., where do you mainly go? I'm like, Buffalo. He's like, why? I'm like, 'cause my dollar goes more there. He goes, exactly. And I was like, oh. And he's like, the exchange rate is always changing back and forth. You go to the bank, you ask them one rate, it's different than when you get at another place at the airport. And I was like, I still don't fully understand this. So that guy ended up teaching me a little bit of things, and he disappeared. I don't know where he is today, to be very transparent with you. No idea where he went. But one thing led to another. I started doing my own research online, came across one platform. I liked the look of it, but timing wasn't right for me at times, so I didn't get involved. I saw another platform in 2018, and the guy who showed it to me at the time was in Trinidad. I said, look, this looks cool. You're going to teach how to trade in these markets? He's like, yeah, we do the foreign exchange, we'll get into cryptocurrency at some point. At this point, I don't believe in crypto.
Yeah.
I'm like, the government's never going to allow it to become a thing. No, I'm fine. But what stock just did for me, my mind is believing in anything when it comes to the market. So I dived into that platform. Several months later with somebody else, actually, I didn't end up going to Trinidad guy. And from there, I was like, okay. I just started to study candlesticks and study patterns and this and that. And I've been trading now about 6 years.
Yeah. Trading is, I think, a lost art that no one could ever find. I think
reading the candlestick.
Yeah. Because it's like people want to do it and then they're like,
Yeah.
Like, and it's like the candlesticks, and it's like candlesticks, And then you hear, I heard Charlie Munger talk about this, RIP Charlie Munger. He was talking about people learning how to trade, and he's talking about like his idea. And the one thing I like about Charlie Munger is that I would probably be the same way if I was 90. Like, you can't teach me anything new. I've made money.
Yeah.
And this is my advice. And I like it. I like hearing all different things. And he was just talking about how, like, people learning online, it's just, But he's 90. Like, of course.
Different generations.
Totally different generations. So this is where one of the things, like, I look at the game and I look at where we're at right now, and I'm like, you have to learn these things.
Yeah.
Because if you want to figure out different ways to make money, it's like, okay, like, you can master, like, okay, you want to find something that you can do for health.
Yeah.
You want to do something for your spiritual. You want to do something for your mind. And you want to do something just for fun. It's like, I look at trading for my mind. And I'm like, I see it and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is getting my mind thinking and working. And also gets me thinking about, like, different things, like going back and like looking at policies, looking at procedures, what's happening in the government. What are they doing? Why are they doing this? Like, I see things now, after I started trading, I see things and I'm like, what are they trying to distract me from?
You see things so differently,
Yep. And I'm always thinking that, like, what are they actually trying to distract me from? Why am I here? Why is this happening right now? And then I think about all the different things that have been going on, like going to the wars.
Yep.
And the factor that they're not talking about pushing it as much right now. But they are distracting us with a whole bunch of celebrity entertainment stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And it goes back to COVID when there was no distractions and everyone became a conspiracy theorist because there's nothing to distract you anymore. And you're like, but I need distractions. There's too much.
We're stocking up on toilet paper for no reason.
Oh, man. There's too much information. And then people were like, what is happening? And then automatically, distractions.
Yeah.
And now it's like you're plugged back into the matrix. It's like, what's happening? I need to, what was that true? What's going on? And you can see right now how they're talking about mRNAs, all that stuff. And it's like, cool.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
Cool. It's cool. But yeah, definitely, I think trading is a thing that everybody needs to figure out. Investing in some form, because you're doing it all the time, from real estate to cars to houses, real estate, but like everything, and also going into like cryptocurrency stocks, all that stuff. Any
data you could put on a chart, like trading, you can view via trading. I think, like you said, I think even if somebody, I'll backtrack. I hate to mention social media again, but social media is what made trading look cool and look sexy but not what it's supposed to be. Supposed to be. Like, people look at trading, okay, I'm gonna learn how to trade and become a day trader, and I'm just gonna sit at home and trade all day long and make all this money. Yeah. And I'm just like, you do know that trading is like 98% weight and 2% actually being in a position, right? Yep. And they're like, no. I want to be a day trader. Like, I'm going to put day trader in my bio on Instagram because I'm a day trader. And I'm like, okay, well, when you understand the trends, you understand the markets, there's times to buy, there's times not to buy. Yep. There's times to buy, there's times to sell. Yep. And they're like, no. Social media, this guy posted he made $10,000 yesterday. But what he didn't tell you was he's been learning the skill set for 10 years. Yeah. What he didn't tell you was that he had an account of $100,000 worth of capital. What he didn't tell you was that account wasn't even real. Yep. So there's so many aspects of it, but I think at the end of the day, when you look back at the skill set, that's the one thing that, like, I always look back and I'm like, I'm so grateful I took the time, even though I burned through so many blown accounts. I had tears, days of tears, months of tears. Just, I'm like, God, give me the sense of direction. Am I doing the right thing? Should I stop? Just give me a sign. Let this trade just become a winning trade, please. I promise I'll come out at break even. Please. Like, I think just going through that, It's very helpful. But I also, like, one thing I've learned through trading is I learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
I learned at certain times in my life I'm very fearful, and at certain times in my life I'm very greedy. And I always say, like, learn the skill set of trading is going to expose who you are as a person. If you're scared to take a position in the market because you're afraid of losing money, then you're naturally a fearful person, but also shows you your relationship with money.
Yeah.
Right? So, I like you mentioned, it's a lost art that I think needs to come back. Don't get me wrong, I'm always for the work smarter approach, find ways to invest for you and things like that. But to this very day, as a day trader, if you want to call it that, I don't feel comfortable having AI trade for me.
Yep.
Like, it's like, hey, this AI program is great. This percent sounds cool, but does AI know that Bank of Canada is gonna increase or lower the rate in the next 60, 90 days?
Yeah.
No. Well, I rather know the skill set, so at least I can react based on what the market gives me, and then take an approach.
Yeah, it's like the fundamentals and technicals meeting. AI is not going to meet. AI is going to utilize technicals and only utilize technicals. Where fundamentally you can take a position and look at it and be like, okay, well, this has happened because of this.
That's right. Yeah.
That's dope. So you're in a continuous learning journey. What are a couple things that you are learning about right now?
So right now I'm finding ways on how to advance my sales skills. I think I've done very well with it, but I've always known ways to increase it. So I'm actually going through a bunch of my old notes. Like, I took a course with Jordan Belfort at one point. I actually got a chance to sit down with him, meet him in person. Not sit one-on-one, but it was like 30 of us. Got to learn his straight line persuasion. So I'm going through a bunch of my notes of that. I'm watching a bunch of different videos on Instagram, on YouTube. So I'm learning a lot about that. I'm learning a whole lot right now about the online marketing. Back end side of things, like the search engine optimization and like keywords and things like that, because I've always just been good with just the content side of it, but not the back end of what's actually driving it to hit the algorithm and things. So I'm learning a lot about those. What else would I say? Stocks, of course. I'm heavily involved with stocks, but now I would say, actually, I think I'm learning a little bit more, a lot more than I want to, truthfully, but I'm learning a little bit more about the whole political world.
Yeah.
And what actually started it was watching Scandal. So I watched this show randomly. I remember how it came on my TV. It was on Netflix or something. And I'm watching, I was like, so this is what politicians are doing behind the scenes and stuff. And I was like, I mean, I already knew this, but now it's just so publicized. Like, wow. So I started like reading a little bit more into different things. Like, even when it comes to what's his name? JF Kennedy. I didn't even know he had a son. So I'm reading on, like, where did he come about? Why is he not being spoken of in this whole U.S. election? And what is he standing for? RFK, yes. So I'm trying to figure out, like, why is everyone still only talking about Trump and Mr. Joey Joe?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so there's something that he has going on. And I'm like, oh, he's against Big Pharma as a whole, so that's why he's pushed to the side.
Yep.
So I'm trying not to dive too deep into the rabbit hole, but I'm in that rabbit hole right now.
It's hard not to, because you're like, yeah, like that's a name, Kennedy. Oh, and you're like, oh, whoa. Why is he being avoided? He should be the Democratic Party representative, but instead he's pushed aside as an independent. So yeah, politics is very interesting, because you start seeing where money is moving things, and then it's hard not to see it, especially when you unveil the avenue of trading and investing and the money moving in markets, and you're like, okay, yeah, why are they doing that to Robert? Definitely,
he's being so shunned. And once again, maybe there's more I didn't learn as yet. I'm sure different perspectives are gonna come about.
Yeah,
but things like that make me wonder, like, why is that? Like you mentioned before, things are being pushed in front of our face, things are not being pushed in front of our face.
Yep.
Like, I'm always that person where I've always identified myself as non-analytical, but I think now I'm becoming that analytical person. I'm trying to figure out, you said this, but why did you say that? Why did you choose now? Why was your voice so high? Why was your hands like this? Why were you doing? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'm trying to figure out, why is this guy like just not being spoken of beyond the obvious things.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. I can't lie to you. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's that. The U.S. election's coming up. I'm curious who's gonna win. I'm also just curious of like how that's gonna break down as we continue going through the summer, because also with the whole Trump and his 34 counts, and it's like, how come there is no one else running? Like, it's like, I'm very confused about how you're telling me he might go to jail, but he
still might be the president.
He still might be the president, and the Republicans haven't taken him off the card. I'm just like, okay, something is weird here. Something is off.
Something's not added up.
Because I'm like, oh, because they're making it a big deal, but they're also not making it a big deal. They're like, he's still running for president. It's like, huh. Okay. But the Republicans are like, oh, okay, it's Trump. All right.
That has to be one of the biggest things in the U.S. history, I think, needs to be studied as to how is this even still being around, being allowed as a whole. And the thought that, not that he's even still in the race, he potentially might win. People are like, no, he needs to win. It's like, well, your options are worse and worse. Like, this is scary.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have someone, man, it feels so good to be a Canadian right now. I'm not going to lie to you. There's certain situations where I'm like, I wish I'm in the U.S. because I don't got to pay for this and this and this. But that's a scary situation to be involved with, of knowing the person who might be in power is a person that just been accused of X, Y, Z. And not just only being accused, they actually were found guilty of these things. Yeah.
It's like whether you're like, oh, it was rigged or not. I'm like, I don't. I mean, he was found guilty, so it's like, okay, we can figure that out. But I don't have as much information as anyone else.
Absolutely.
So reality is he is found guilty. He's guilty. Okay, cool. Whether he did it or not, I don't know. Whether it's deemed as guilty, doesn't matter. He's found guilty. Why is he still allowed to do this? Why are we not talking more about this? Why are we talking about his replacement? Why are we talking about the next person? And they're just going pivot hard, like, all right, Trump for president. Cool. All right.
That's one scary thing about the whole thing. It's like, no one in society of being found guilty doesn't actually mean you're guilty.
Yes.
Which is like, he's found guilty, but it's like,
doesn't mean anything until he's sentenced. And I think the sentencing is in July. That's the other part. That's the other shoe to drop. We'll see what happens in July. So, where can people find you?
Right now I'm on Instagram, the Andre Gordon. I've actually created a sub account. It's Andre Gordon, which is more my car business, but the Andre Gordon, all my personal life, my behind the scenes, head in here, like everything is shown on that page. You want to hit me for my car business? Find me there. You want help for trading? Find me there. Just social media, consulting, whatever it is, find me there.
Cool.
Instagram, Facebook, same thing. YouTube, the Andre Gordon. Not really on TikTok yet. I have an account, but
TikTok's a weird one. I still don't get it.
I still haven't figured the algorithm. I still haven't figured out.
I don't get
It's always shifting, and then now there's talks of the U.S. wanting to ban it just because of their feud with China. And it's like, yeah. I don't understand TikTok. Because there's things that will go on Instagram. I'll put on Instagram. It's like, it went 1 million. I'm like, oh, cool. Go on TikTok, 72 views. I'm like, yeah.
I don't get it. Same hashtag, same everything.
Yeah, it makes it honestly. I wish I got on TikTok when it first came out.
Yeah,
but it's one of those things. I was like, I'm listening to everybody. Oh, it's just for kids dancing and this, and I'm like, where attention is, there's money to be made.
Gary V.
Yeah, Gary V. Like, where there's attention, there's money to be made, and if TikTok gets removed, the attention will go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually looking at. What is the next social media platform that I gotta be on yesterday?
Yeah.
And then get myself on there, start posting things on there, and just be on there. Because that is where's the attention gonna be drawn next? That's what I want. That's what I'm trying to figure out. When you find it out, let me know.
You find out, you let me know. Cause I'm trying to find that out. Cause I think heavily, like, even through the pandemic, a lot of people look at my Instagram and like, oh my God, so many followers, And I'm like, well, if you look at it today, I've actually removed almost half of my followers in the last 6 to 12 months. But when I first started the pandemic, I had like 3,000 or 4,000. The first 90 days when I went from 3,000 to 4,000 to like 35,000. My biggest mistake was I didn't push that audience somewhere else. I didn't say, okay, guys, you follow me here, check out my YouTube. And I created like 2 vlogs and then I stopped. I should have been like YouTube or TikTok or even Snapchat. Yep. I'm learning Snapchat now has features where you can get paid off ad dollars and stuff. And I'm just like, I was on Snapchat doing stupidness 10, 12 years ago. Yep. So I'm trying to figure out where that next attention is going next, and I'll 100% be there.
All right. That's it for today. Welcome to actually, if you stayed through it's the Wealth Hustle podcast. It's the ending. Go make some money, figure it out, read a book. If you want to reach out to us, ask any questions, we're here for you. Got your back for life. Peace.